Well, good evening and welcome to this Tuesday, June 15th edition of A Walk Down Memory Lane. I'm your host, Earl Basin, and joining me is co-host Dennis Brown. And our guests this evening are none other than Ricky Hill and Derek Scott, gentlemen that we all seem to know very well. Dennis, we should have some lively debates about our times on the field. First of all, let me start with you, Derek. You had a rather remarkable career playing in several teams, but give us a sense of your journey from youth through to seniors, just so people have an idea of where you've been, where you've come from.
Well, Earl, it was first of all, thank you very much for you and Dennis to allow me the opportunity to be on your show, Walk Down Memory Lane. I'm at a stage now. It'd be nice to sort of go back and relive some of the times I spent. Well, I played in Bermuda, and to just be part of the show. To answer your question, I kind of was a journeyman by Bermuda standards. I started at Rangers and Warwick and hotels, and went up to school and played in collegiate soccer, and then I had opportunity to play, and of course playing for Bermuda. So it was a journey, and years that I enjoyed and still reminisce and very proud of.
What about you, Ricky? Give us your journey.
Yeah, first of all, I'd like to just thank you, Earl, for having me on the show. Good evening to Dennis and Derek. I just want to maybe mention that I started at the Hamilton Parish Ruckman's Club. That's called the Hot Papas, of course, back in the day. And of course, in my younger years, 2019, I was joined and scouted by Alan Peacock and joined the Hotels International around 21 years old. So I've had a bit of a journey.
Okay, all right. Dennis?
Yeah, good night, guys. Like you said, it's a pleasure to have you guys on. We've had many battles, especially Ricky and I remember the days when we used to play against each other, and we always used to have bets before the games to see who will win the most houses, and the loser will have to buy lemonade after the games and stuff like that. But we had some good battles. We also had some good times playing with the national team. And in my estimation, and I still talk about Ricky right up to today about how complete of a striker he was to me. The guy was good on the floor, had a good touch, had good movement. He also was, which is his trademark, was brilliant in the air. And I tell guys today, if Ricky was playing today, Ricky would score about 60 goals a season against these. There's no disrespect, but Ricky was that good. And then with Derek was no nonsense. That Hotels team was amazing, man. If you came short playing against Hotels, you were in trouble. So the first question I'm gonna ask both of you is like, who was some of the influences for you guys when you were coming through playing football? Ricky was Parish, and then you had Hotels, and then Scotty, Rangers, and Warwick. Who were some of the influences for you guys when you were coming through?
I guess I can start off if you want to start, Derek. Playing with Hamilton Parish, I was under the coaching of Happy Deal and Oliver Casey. So they would have had a big influence on my career at a young age. And of course, at 2021, I joined Hotels. And of course, Alan Peacock, rest in peace. He's no longer here. But he would have had a great influence on my career in the domestic league in Bermuda, playing for Hotels International.
Well, Dennis, that's a I don't know if you guys have enough time on the show to answer that question. Dennis, I'll be honest with you, I first followed some of the Trojans back in the day as a youth, right? And
Well, that was smart. That was smart.
well, yeah,
And he wised up.
I know you like that, and I like a lot of players that influenced back then was the George Brangwins, the Dirk Simmons, the Rudy Miners, and the Muscle Hunt, and I followed you guys and Trix Richardson through. And I went to Rangers. I had players like John Tucker, Randy Bean, Quentin Sherlock, and Braxton Stowe, and Mike Williams. And then when I moved to Warwick, I had people like Hubert Simmons, and well, of course, born putting Rick Richardson as my coach. You know, we were never short of quality players. You know, to help groom you. I mean, Bodie Smith and Bradshaw. You know, was like I was just a product of Bermuda football back in the day. You know, where I chased every ball that was put in front of me. I was just part of that era where I just want to win. And we compete against the likes of Somerset, PHC, and North Village, and Colts, and these type of teams where they made you players, the players around you. Gary Dow from Colts, and I'm talking about Jimmy Parsons from PHC, and I go on and on and on, or players that groom you. And these players, you compete against them week in and week out. These are the type of players that really make or break a player. You know, they on the field competitively, off the field, they kind of look you as a up and coming talent and everything else, and they kind of kept you in line. So that was sort of that's my my answer in terms of who groomed me as a player.
Yeah. Rick, I know there's a lot of people that was always wondering and was always asking, how did you train in working out your hang time? Because it was almost like you were in the air for quite some time waiting for the ball to come. So how did you train and how did you prepare yourself for that?
Earl, I'd say that as short as I am, 5'11", it's basically, and the secret was timing. It's the timing of the run. So I couldn't jump as high as or I can jump as high as everyone else, but it was just the timing and the right time to move, and also, sort of that I can get my hang time and maybe time the header. So it was more hang time and timing as opposed to leaping from a standstill position or a running position. So it was timing in the box, basically.
Was that something you worked on in training or by yourself or?
Well, I think one of the things was that to play football, you had to be extremely fit. And one of the things playing at hotels, we were extremely fit. Um, Training sessions were very competitive, and guys had to work hard for the position. We played to a strategy, and I was more of a target man. And we'll play with two up front, and then we have wingbacks going down and having crosses coming through. So it was always training sessions where the run and the timing to head the ball. So it was more timing than anything.
Okay. And study with you a lot of hard-nosed crunching tackles in the middle of the park. Where did you get that fearlessness from? Because I mean, you weren't a big guy, but you were always willing to go into the battle.
Well, I just love playing football, and it's that we used to train, like Ricky said earlier. We used to our training sessions at hotels back in the day. We were very fearless. We used to talk. We had to wear shin pads in training. Okay, all right. The team was so competitive that like we had like some 25, 30 players in a training. Like I'm not used to a lot of other clubs, but you had an Alan Philpott come along and tackle. You had an Andrew Colwell come in and tackle. And Dan Schultz. The other day is that you in training, you better bring your shin pads. It's not a case no one said ease up. And everyone had a bite because they want to pay on the weekend. And we were just taught to be competitive. It was the edge. That's what kept us going in training and to matches over the weekend. That win, the desire to win. And I'm sure Dan say I I used to run around the field like a beast because I wanted to win. And I'll kick anything that moves, and
Yep.
and Danny
He
would
even
tell you,
kicked his own players in training.
I was an angry player. Earl,
Yep.
I wanted to win. And even if the referee got me, I'll run over the referee, no problem. But at the end of the day, just being competitive. Yeah.
Dennis?
Yeah, and I could reiterate, um, back in those days, you had to really protect yourself because the game was fierce, man.
Yeah.
I remember I think my first game I played against Hotels at BA, and Eddie Simpson must have kicked me or something like that. And Lance Brown, God bless his soul, man, came right up my face. And he said, I can't repeat a lot of things he told me, but he said to the effect that, if you don't kick that bleep bleep guy, I'm gonna bleep 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 kick you. And at the end of the day, man, those Hotels were a team that were physical. Um, Coldwell, you had Tony Greaves when I first started playing. Tony Greaves, Frankie Brewster, um, David Neisler, who
Yeah.
was almost on his video, like Ian Morrison, other Todil. You guys, Hotels had a quality team. Um, what was it for both of you to transition from Ricky came from Parish, Scotty came from Warwick to Hotels? What was that transition like, and what did it feel like when you first got to Hotels from your clubs?
Rick?
Okay. Coming from Hamilton Parish, I mean, we had a pretty good structure at Hamilton Parish under Pappy and Oliver, and they had good football brains. So Pappy Dio, the ex Bermuda coach, and Oliver Casey, as of course with Devonshire Coach as a goalkeeper, came to Hamilton Parish. So we had a pretty good structure, and one of the key things was it was fitness, and going to Hotels. You were young and you were excited. So I'd say with Hotels International, it was more of a professional outfit, and we approached games and we played games as you were a professional. It was like going to work, you know.
Mm.
We were very well organized, and so the transition from Hamilton Parish to Hotels wasn't a big transition. You were young and you were eager, so you were pretty excited to join such a team as Hotels International. So and I would say that definitely a professional outfit, and had incentives to play. So that would have encouraged you as well. So
Scotty, what was that
Well,
transition like?
I think Hotels, then at the time, they were like a very progressive team in terms of we played domestically, but we also had aspirations to play internationally. And I'm sure Rick will agree with me. We were always working towards playing football outside of Bermuda. That's why they had CONCACAF at those days, and our football when the season ended it was just starting. You know, we were going and we were entering tournaments. Rick and I, we can tell you, we did a lot of traveling on the club. Mexico, and we went to South America. Guatemala, and even the United States, Canada, and which kind of exposed us to that international football, what everyone could enjoy. We did a lot of preparation. We did preseason tours. We did after-season tours. So there were exposure to international football, and for players like Rick and myself, who wanted to see how far you can compete overseas. Rick had some experience overseas in Scotland. I played a while for college and in the United States. So it was the mental fortitude, the ability to go to take your football to another level, which I think any Bermuda footballer who really has some sort of ability will aspire to do. So I think we were kind of Hotels were like sort of the first team, not knocking clubs like Somerset, PHC, and Colts who would probably play at CONCACAF back in the day, but we Hotels kind of set a program, a plan to take Bermuda football and as a product to go overseas. So that was an incentive, really. I think that was a driving factor for me.
Mm, mm. And what were the times like playing at that level at the end of our season? Because you would have had a grueling season um, locally, and then trying to play in a tournament or a couple of matches after the season. What was that like?
Oh, it just took you to another level because we, as Ricky mentioned earlier, we were sort of very organized club, as being an amateur club. We kind of was borderline. Like people still questioned well, we were almost like a semi-pro to our approach, which was welcoming because Ricky said your training session was structured. Um, you traveled the team was first class. We said, and because Hotels International, we had a lot of connections, contacts, and we were made to feel almost semi-pro. You know, you travel, or very organized, training sessions organized, and I think that one of the plus also for hotels that we had a lot of international players, a lot of mature players. Like even though we were
Yeah.
young, you mentioned Eddie Simpson, you mentioned Devin Eisler, you mentioned a lot of guys who brought a lot of sort of professionalism into the sport. I can go back to Billy Abley. I can go back to Musa Abedi. Of course, Alan Peacock. We had Sam Newsom play for us. Like a lot of players that had international experience, very mature. And you didn't mess about in a training session. We train. Rick Nights. We used to train was like 7 nights a week.
Yeah, we trained 3 nights a week. We would rest on Monday after a Sunday game. We'll resume on Tuesday, train on Wednesday. And one of the things that we used to do, we used to train on Friday and play on Sunday. And the reason why we trained on Friday, we used to like to go for dinner at Little Venice. That was our favorite restaurant. So the team would come prepared for training and, of course, dinner after. And of course, you come dressed for the occasion. And it's just like a professional. You guys go to dinner and you're going to have your blazer on, and we were treated as professionals. And just as Derek said, it was an incentive for us to go and play. So we were basically a semi-pro outfit.
Mm.
I don't like to disclose exactly what was taking place with regards to any gifts, but
Yeah, that's
we
good.
were a professional outfit or a semi-pro outfit, basically.
Right. But a 21-year-old leaving what we consider home, Hamilton Parish, were you nervous about what you were going into, Ricky?
No, I was more eager. I wasn't nervous. I took the opportunity and I grasped it, and I was excited. So it was nothing to be nervous about. I think that if you had the ability and you just wanted to try and do your best and be a successful player and be a part of an organization that's going somewhere. So I was quite happy to be with Hotels for many years
Mm.
and being treated as a semi-pro player, basically.
Dennis?
Not
Yeah,
within the not
yeah,
within the
well,
Bermuda Football Association. I don't know if they want to hear the semi-pro because that would be.
that's been good. That's been good all forever, man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because I could
I
always,
call it incentives, Dennis.
yeah, definitely. Because when I was 19, I remember, and the twins were on Richard and Robert. I had won the MVP, and Robert became the coach of Vasco, and he came knocking on my door, and like Ricky said, offered different incentives. I jumped to it. I had actually I had signed for Vasco when I was 19, and um, the Somerset people found out about it.
Mm.
And I'm gonna ask you this, Ricky and Derek, about how did your people treat you when you left? Because I hadn't even left some, but I had signed for Vasco, and Somerset people stopped speaking to me.
Yeah.
And I eventually went back to Somerset because my mama said, "Well, you could go to Vasco, but you ain't living in this house." So I I quickly turned around that decision. But how were you guys treated when you left Paris, when you left Warwick to go play for Hotels? How were you guys treated by your people?
I'd say one thing is that it wasn't very easy joining Hotels without getting some abuse. And
Right,
of course,
right.
at that time, you would have been called the pot washers. And you can define pot washers as hotels, workers working in the kitchen. So,
Yes.
we were labeled that name, pot washer. And in those days, you had fun, you played hard, you took some abuse, and I mean, in these days, you wouldn't be able to do that. But we took it on the chin, and when that game was over, and everyone was friends. So you suffered a bit of abuse.
Well,
Scotty?
for Dennis, I kind of I had a I mean I when I left Rangers to go pick work, then I worked to go to school, and I did 4 years in college and playing. Then I had a 1 year playing professionally. So when I came back to Bermuda, I kind of had a taste of professionalism, and I wanted to play with players that were, I felt, at my level. I wanted, as a player, you want to play with players you surround yourself with, competitive players. So at the time, hotels was the only real, well, in my opinion, was a team that were going to at least help me to achieve, because I still had aspiration playing professionally, go back off for trials, and it was North American Soccer League, and I wanted to be part of that. And they were in the outfit who catered to my footballing appetite. I took a lot of stick. I mean, I played for War for a bit, and I did a journey, this sort of stuff, but it was difficult because I was on a journey, and I had a taste of professionalism, and I wanted to maintain that. So you sometimes have to deal with the criticism, and I took quite a bit at the time, but I had mouths to feed, and I had already had the bit in my mouth, and I wanted to continue as being a professional. And Hotels was the only club team that really gave me that, opportunity, and was an easy fit because they had quality players back then. I mean, it was quality players throughout the whole league back then. I go through Somerset, from North Village to Colts to PHC, everything. It was not easy. We had to compete domestically, but when it came to organization, I think we had probably one of the best organized team. And like I said, we aspired to play not just only Bermuda, but we travel every year. You were guaranteed to try to go in CONCACAF to play, and I think that kind of helped put our football on the map. The fact that we're outside the national team, that we went overseas to play football. So you take the criticisms made, and you just roll up your slocks and keep playing.
It's funny because last night on Mondays I do a referee corner show, and last night I had Charlie Marshall, Rex Osborne, and Cal Simons on, and I know these guys. They talked about back when they officiated and some of the challenges, but take us through, you guys, some of those guys that you would remember, especially officiating side, that you would remember, and for various reasons.
Oh my God!
You want to be nice,
Dennis, you want to start that?
No, don't be nice. Be straight up, babe. Be straight up.
Let's go.
Well,
Ricky?
you had,
Rick?
I think you had McNeil. McNeil was, he was strict.
Yeah.
I mean, McNeil will come up in your face and
Yep.
point at you, and you would just like back off. You had Charlie Marshall, who was also very strict. And these guys were no nonsense. You had Osborne. What's the other guy? I can't remember his name. Curtis, I believe it's Curtis.
Curtis.
Curtis. Yeah.
And these guys were very, very good referees and very strict. So,
how about the main one?
Crockle. Keep going.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, we did have some problems playing against PHC.
Whoa. Oh, he was amazing. He was amazing.
Well, let's hear from Derek, because
you mentioned a lot. You mentioned a lot. I mean, I can go back Ray O'Leary. I could go back to, I think, John Bento. We had, I think, some of the characters. They all had different personalities. So I'll give you an example. to calm the game down. Like Ray Leary would come talk to you off the ball, right? Come by and say, and say, Scotty, turn it down a bit. I'm gonna won't shout at you at the field in front of other players. Respect them.
Right.
Your last tackle wasn't the greatest, or blah blah blah. So just turn it down a bit. Get a grip. So you had a guy like Jordan Bantu would come by to you, and you just like had a shot on goal, and you missed to go wide. That Jordan Bantu come in quiet, says, "Oh, what, you left your scoring boot term tonight?" Right. So you had every referee, and then you had a Crockle who it was his game.
Whoa,
And he was very demanding, and he decided.
I'm gonna turn the lights down.
Yeah. And he like, oh no, Scotty, you can't. But he was like very incisive. Like he wanted you to act up because he wanted to bring out a red card.
Yeah.
He did. He incited players, but in a nice way.
Yeah.
But once you and then at the end of the game, he'll come shake your hand. I said, PB, I'm not having that. I'm not having that. No, really. But what? We can't be friends during the game. I said, but during the game, like you're really. You're kind of, you can see him edging you on. He's just a type of player. But Ricky mentioned Charlie Marshall, another a good gentleman. He will come by and speak quietly to you. With some referees, Dennis or Ricky, blow your whistle and if you don't act up, I'm gonna send you off. And of course, your opponents, coach, send him off. Well, ref, send him off. So you become a mark man after that, right? But it's Bermuda referee, and you see him the next day. I think they're very kind. I don't want to see PB on a Monday. You know what I mean? No, I ain't talking to you. But that's Bermuda football. Right? It's amateur football. That's what we have to deal with. But it's interesting.
Yes. Dennis?
Yeah, and the messed up thing with me, PB used to be my boss in the prison.
Okay.
So we and when he was refereeing my games, I didn't really care because him and I were always at it. And but the next day you just have to leave it alone, and he becomes the boss the next day, and I become the subordinate. But two referees in particular, like Rick said, McNeil used to curse you off and dare you to curse them back off.
That's right.
Unbelievable. Unreal. Like, shut the F up. Yeah, you curse me. I'll send you off, stuff like that. But at the end of the day, they made you, honest and stuff like that. A question for both of you guys, man. You guys played with some good foreign players, excellent foreign players. Who was the best? Name the best 3 foreign players that you guys played with.
In the team?
For hotels. Best 3 foreign players.
The best 3 foreign players for me would be 1, Billy Abley in the midfield, Dennis McQuaid, who would play wide right, and the third one would definitely be Alan Peacock in the middle midfield. So those would have been my 3 top players playing with Hotels International. Foreign players, sorry.
Scotty?
Well, I will go with Donovan Livingston, right? And when I went into the team, I will put again Billy Abley, phenomenal player, and I'm trying to think who else, Rick. And
Dennis McQuaid.
Dennis McQuaid, because a complete player. The nice thing about this guys, Dennis and Earl, is that Dennis McQuaid was an out-and-out front player. I mean, you go down the line and put the ball in the air, and Dennis McQuaid would be on the end of it. He was a professional. And Ricky, it's like these guys we used to train setup to play to our strengths, right? Many nights, good on the line, Scotty, just cross the ball, put it in here, leave it to helicopter hill, Dennis McQuaid, boom. You know what I mean? It's like we were kind of play to our strengths. Billy Happy was probably one of the best passers of the ball back then. He scored a lot of goals for us. And then of course backline, we had a lot of good. I mean, I go to Paul Pierce for program. These were center halves, like who just brought a different perspective to the game from the different countries. And Donovan Livingston was probably one of the most hard-nailed defenders in Bermuda at the time.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dennis.
So it's amazing the three that Ricky picked, because I had Billy Abley, Dennis McQuaid, and I also had Donovan Livingston. But I remember Billy Abley and Dennis McQuaid, man. Those guys were special, man. People used to call Billy Abley dirty, but that's a part of the game.
But he was.
I was dirty to an extent. All of us were dirty to an extent.
Yeah.
A coach always used to tell me, "Hey, good guys finish last in this game."
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, man, Billy Abley was special. Dennis McQuaid was out of this world. Donovan Livingston, like you said, he was a brilliant defender. So what was it like for you guys when you won your first trophy with Hotels? Was it the league or the FA?
Derek, you want to go there? Because I can't remember
It was
that. FA Cup at
FA
National
Cup.
Stadium. Was it against Somerset or PAC?
No, you beat PAC.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
We and that was on a replay, Dennis.
Okay.
And we were knocking on the door. We should have won it on the first time around. I think I had a breakaway in the box, put it aside netting. Old National Stadium. I think Croc was refereeing that game too, Pee Wee. Seemed like Ricky, we always got Croc with the PNC game.
Definitely a conflict.
Never conflict. we just knew that's the order of things. That's any game, PAC and Hotels, it was Crocker. He got it. That's BFA. All right.
Whoa.
Okay. But yeah, FA Cup, I think, was probably a good team back then. We have, and PAC were an excellent team. It's like Mike Deal and Jackson Douglas and I go on Kevin Deal and Sammy Swan.
Sammy, yep.
Yeah, I mean
Kenny Burt,
the Ninja.
Yep.
Frankie Mean, Buller Anderson. I go for the whole team.
Yeah, they had a good team.
Yeah, had a good team. So to beat those guys, when the second time trying, which was Hotels was claim to fame. I think we celebrated for almost like a whole month. I think we ate every restaurant in Bermuda at the time, Ricky.
Yeah, we lived in Little Venice.
I think Ricky and I we melted. So
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we had free stay at the South P, Hampton P,
wow.
Beach.
Oh wow.
Yeah. It was what they wanted because Hotels. I don't know if you know. Originally, I'm going on because that's where it started from. The founded were like hotel workers, basically.
But that's where pub washers come from.
Yes.
Yeah. And these guys came Bermuda, and they started at the field next to where Price was, the all whites, and Fritz Ryder and I go with Dominique Gagliano and Bruno Fiocco, but they were guys working in the hotel business, and that's where they started. And so they were. That's the tradition. Not like a local club team. No Thompson, no PAC, no North Village. Yep. We have a ground, walk off the hill, go train at SEC and whatever kids me. They're all foreign players who love the game, and they just wanted to play to compete. And they had just had the organization, bar no club, but they had the organization.
Yeah. Let me ask. I know both of you left your club, but when you weren't playing, were you kind of interested to see what the former clubs were doing on game days? Did you kind of go back and watch them, or were you more interested in and possibly watching your next opponent?
Well, I
Rick?
think when I played with Hotels, Hamilton Parish would have been in the second division, if I can remember. I
Yes.
don't remember playing against them a lot, maybe in a FA Cup or a cup game, but not in the same league together.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I was very interested in following Hamilton Parish. Of course, mom and dad and my family would be very involved with Hamilton Parish. So, of course, I had to tag on as well.
Oh yeah, Rick had no choice. Yeah, and plus he had to support the rest of the family because that Hampton Parish like he had his brother Corey and and Ricky was playing cricket too, so he kind of two. I didn't even know how Ricky did it playing two sports, football and cricket, to go and watch someone else play. But his mom, yeah, you're gonna go watch your young brother play, Corey, and that was that's the Hill Millie, his mom, very strong family in terms of sports.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I never went personally. I never I was too busy. I was too selfish. I was worried about myself. I left these clubs, whether it be Rangers or Warwick and stuff like that. Even I appreciate it. It's just that I was striving to be. My aspiration was to continue being a professional player.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have the time for that. Plus, I had family commitments and sort of stuff. So I wasn't really afforded the time to go watch a lot of the clubs play.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't have missed it. I just moved on in a lot of ways, Earl and Dennis.
What one game stands out for you guys individually that kind of you would never forget? What's that one game? No matter who you played for.
Rick?
Again, one game. It could be Hotels or.
It could be anybody. Yeah, it could be anybody.
Well, I think one of the most disappointing games. I've had two really disappointing games. I remember playing against USA at National Stadium. I think it was the first game at National Stadium, the opening game at National Stadium against USA, and I missed the penalty.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah,
I remember that.
Yeah, I think Corey was just getting into the national team then. Was he, Dennis?
Yes.
And he was put through and he was taken down, and I took the penalty and hit it wide. So that was a big disappointment. Another game playing against Tottenham Hotspurs at Somerset.
Oh, yeah,
and I don't know if you played this game, Dennis.
Yeah, I played.
I'm sure you did.
Yeah,
we went up 1-0
yes.
against Spurs at Somerset. And late in the first half, I was put through. I rounded Clemens. Was it Clemens in goal at the time?
Ray Clemens.
Ray Clemens, yes.
I rounded Clemens at the garden end with about 1,000 people along that fence. And I put it in the side net. I could have ran out of the stadium and hurt. I was so embarrassed. I think it was Ruddy at that time, being the coach, took me off the field because I lost all confidence after that. We ended up losing the game 4-1, but we went up 1-0.
Yeah.
I think was it Mawson scored, Dennis?
Yeah, Walter Mawson scored. Yeah.
Broke down the right. I think it was, who made the cross? Was it Snake? I think it was Snake.
I can't remember that part.
Yeah, and Mawson side put it to him, so we 1-0 up. And I'd say back in those days we had 3,000 or 4,000 people that was at the match. So it was a good one.
Yeah, it was.
Scotty?
Well, I have so many, Earl, can't remember, but I tell you, Mike, one game that I kind of always am proud of would be my first senior game, right? When I played for Rangers, and I was playing in a Martinmere third and fourth place match, and was against my team, which was my idol, which was Somerset. And I came on the field, and back then Rangers had Mike Williams and Braxton Stewart in goal, and I could go on and on with the team. And I had a chance to line up against George Brangman. I think it was Rainey Horton and Dirks and everything else. And since I got on the pitch, I just like we see the ball and I just ghosted poor George Brayman because I had speed back then.
Yeah.
And after that, I was in the team. I was starting, they kind of like, oh, wow. My next game was against Social Club, which the Bluebirds back then. I remember playing against the likes of those guys. And so that was my breakout game. And I think one of my other, I guess, highlights would be when Hotels played Aston Villa at BAA.
Oh, yeah.
I remember picking the ball first half. Rick, remember, I went past his new fullback and I just laughed to him like ghosting. Well, of course, it was a real. And I put the ball in the side net. Remember, Rick? It was a cross.
Yeah.
And
We
people
lost
thought,
that one 6-0.
yeah.
Yeah,
But you
well,
know what?
don't remind me about Villa.
Don't remind him because it was a few nights later that it was a different score.
Dennis, we're not gonna talk
Yeah,
about what but yeah, those were games in terms of Bermuda, which playing domestically were kind of, we still reminisce and talk about it because Rick and I still work at CGE or former Colonial, and we have a lot of laughs. But you remember that game we played, so and so, and like it's good banter, just good to reminisce. But those are my two games, Dennis.
Okay.
Yeah, it is. And I could the two games against Hotels that really stand out for me was I don't know if you guys remember the final game of the season, and I think Hotels were leading the league by 1 point, and the last game of the season was at Somerset. I believe this was like 81,
correct,
82, and we ended up winning 1-0 to win the league. So the winner would basically win the league. But Hotels just needed a draw. We had to win. And this was a game that I was injured. So everybody was saying that, oh, well, Dennis not playing, Summers is going to lose, blah, blah, blah. But, that game really stands out to me. And then on a bad note, when you played us in the Martin Rupp National Stadium, you just took us apart.
Yeah.
You beat us like 4-1. And that's when Courage Bell first went to Hotels, and Dennis McQuaid scored this goal from had to be like 25 to 30 yards. So those are two games that really stand out to me. So I'm gonna ask you guys both a question about a special guy to both of you. Alan Peacock. What does Alan Peacock mean to both of you guys? God bless his soul, because he, to me, he was a beautiful person. On the field, he was ultra competitive. Off the field, the guy was, very, very nice gentleman. So what was Alan Peacock to both of you guys?
Rick?
Well, first of all, he was our boss in the office and our boss on the field. So
right.
And of course, a lot of respect goes to Alan Peacock, bless his soul. He would have been one of my biggest influence in joining Hotels and giving me every opportunity, not only in football but in life. He deserves a lot of respect from me, and I'm sure Derek would say the same thing. But he was just a kind and nice gentleman. He was very, very stern. His coaching style was very strict and no nonsense. You had to train hard and you had to play well. And Alan was always technically sound as well. He always knew what the opposition was doing, and he can always sort of counter and sort of plan his game around the opposition. So he was pretty organized. And not only that, he was just a very, very good individual. And on top of the fact that he was my boss and a playing mate, he was also a very good friend of mine. So my hat goes off to Alan Peacock, who I give a lot of respect to for my career, not only in sports, but in my professional life as a insurance CG representative.
But before Scotty goes, because I read an article about what you said about Alan Peacock, and you said that he was probably the best local coach that you've ever had. and to me that was that was very very special. That was many years ago, but Ricky, you said he was probably the best local coach you ever had. So that speaks volumes.
Mm.
Dennis, well, everything Ricky said, I can agree with this, because like I said, he was our boss, he was our coach, he was also a former player, but see, Alan kind of, and we had a lot of good coaches back in the day, Bermuda coaches and foreign coaches, that sort of stuff, Graham Williams, I can go on and on and on. But what Alan came from a footballing background. He played the game. His father was a professional back in Bristol. He had, he kind of just brought knowledge. And what he did, what I remember him basically taking someone like Ricky or myself or Courage Bow and even Kenny Burt, and he would as much he wanted to and grind, or I don't like doing this thing, he kind of tailor made the game around the strengths. Ricky back post, Kenny Burt, one of the best blue players inside the 6-yard box, Ninja. He was got a Paul Pierce, and he kind of built the team around strengths. And then you had the confidence after that. I think he gave us confidence to want to go out and play football, and all the personalities that he had, foreign personalities. And I think one of his greatest attributes was the fact that he came to Bermuda and he got into the Bermudian way of life. You know what I mean? Alan really wanted to play for a local club. He would have loved to play for North Village. He would love to play for a Somerset Coast. He always says, I wish I could have played with a Jimmy Parson. I wish I could have played with a Gary Dow. I wish I could, because he had a great appreciation for Bermuda players. So it's not like he had, I'm British, I'm white, I'm from different culture. He loved Bermuda football, and he worked with Bermuda players. He didn't have to. A lot of players could have. He's a professional. He could have stayed in insurance and not bother. He could have been playing rugby. He had choices, but he just really enjoyed the family, the Bermuda football family. A lot of time for the Gumbo Beans, a lot of times for George Spring. He spoke with these guys all the time. He could tell you every time he saw someone play, just to be able to play football. So he's the sort of guy, I would say, he just embraced Bermuda football, island football. That's what we were, island country. We were playing, this top level football, but we were playing the players that we had back then, and I'm not knocking the current players today, but it was a different brand of football we played back then. That's why, we can discuss this tonight. Alan just took to Bermuda, and football was sort of Vietnam, and it was his platform. So, but hell of a nice guy. I called him a footballing brain. He brought a different dimension to how we played football.
Got another one, Dennis?
Yeah. So take me to now. You're played domestically. This is both of you again because both of you played for the national teams. Um, so when did both of you first get into the national teams? And at that time, who was your coaches, and how did you think you fared? Because I played a lot with Ricky for the national team, and I thought, he was a pain in the ass in most
Mhm.
overseas defenders. He just wasn't good in Bermuda, but he was good. He was good overseas too. You know what I mean? You get some players who maybe good in Bermuda and not good at the international level, but I thought Ricky was excellent international striker, the total number 9 in my eyes. So how did you guys feel when you first got to the national setup? Did you come through the youth teams or just go to the full national team?
Well, I can probably start if you like that, it's okay.
Mhm.
I remember playing for my first Bermuda game in the under 21s against Orient at National Stadium. I don't know if you remember that,
Yeah,
Dennis.
late knowing. Yeah.
Yeah, Leighton
Yeah.
Orient.
Yeah.
And I was that would have been my very first game at the under 21s. And that's where my career took off to Hotels International. With regards to the national team, I would have broken into the national team a lot later, maybe around 24, 25, 26. And I can remember the national team at that time was coached by, I think, Roddy Burchell, Gary Dow, and who else was it, Dennis? I think that was the only
Yeah,
two that we,
Roddy, and
Roddy and Gary, wasn't it?
Peppy a little bit.
Pepe a little.
Yeah.
And I would say the national team at that time was very competitive. We played the likes of USA, we played the likes of Barbados, we played the likes of Jamaica, we played the likes of Trinidad. And I just don't remember losing any games to those teams. I don't know if you can remember, Dennis, but we
No.
were very competitive.
Yeah, for sure.
Trinidad, I remember a game against Trinidad at the National Stadium. We were playing, and Dwight York was in the lineup.
Yes. Yeah.
And we beat them 1-0, Dennis, or did we drew 1-1?
We played twice. We drew the first game 1-1,
And
and then we beat them 1-0. Kyle scored the run
at
on the
the
second
arena,
game.
yeah, at
Yes.
the arena.
Yeah.
And at the national level during my days, I didn't play too much with Derek in the national team. I don't remember at all, actually, but Dennis more. But we were very, very competitive. We played lots of games. What was the game we played against the Russians was it the Russians at National Stadium?
Moscow Locomotive or
Moscow
whatever.
Locomotive.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
team that's playing in Champions League
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
And we beat them 1-0 at National Stadium.
Yeah.
So we were very competitive and pretty organized. We weren't professional, but we enjoyed what we were doing, and we liked to train, and that was the key: being fit and enjoy one another.
And that year, Ralph, in particular, because we didn't enter the World Cup, and we had beat the USA and the Trinidadians, and that's the year USA actually went to the World Cup. They beat Trinidad in Trinidad to go to the World Cup for the first time for a long time. So at that time, we were beating all those teams.
Yeah.
At that time.
I just don't remember losing any games to Jamaica, Trinidad, or even USA. I mean, we played USA on a few occasions. One at National Stadium, I can remember one at PAC.
Yeah.
And did we play also USA in Orlando? I think.
They paid for us to come to Orlando.
Yeah,
because
so we were like a training base team, and it was easy for them to travel to Bermuda, and it was easy for us to go to Orlando. Hour and a half flight, 2 hours flight. But I would say that we were very competitive against those teams.
Scotty, what was your national journey through the youth?
Well, yeah, I actually was in the national program at a very young age. My first coach was Graham Adams. You remember Graham Adams?
Yes.
And I was like 14, 15, playing for Rangers at the time. But I couldn't train. They used to train Saturdays. And my family were Adventists at the time. I couldn't train with them. But Mr. Adams kind of said, well, don't worry about training. Just come play. Play football. Right? Which is great. And then I went for the national program, and I played for the national youth team. And I had some really nice footballers back in the day, Dennis. I had your brother Lance and Bucky Green. I go on Courage Bow, Colin Painter. I go on. So, and at the time, Joe Trott and Dan Vassim was our coach on the youth level. And then when I advanced up to the senior national team, myself and Mal Bean, and that national team was like who's who of football back in the community. You had like Joe Trott and Gumbo Dean and Mop Aswood and Damon Froggy Smith and Simmons. And, so I was in the national program at a very young age. And I just naturally progressed to the national team. And at the time, was Pappy Deal and Roddy Bartle were my senior coaches. So I've always been involved, like I said, in the national program at a very young age. But I just, like I said, I was very, very quietly. I was a young pup, and those guys back then, you had to you had to mind your manners. You can't go talk to
Yep.
senior players like that.
Yep. Yep.
And no, mate, you gotta wait your turn.
Yep.
Learn your trade first. But and like I said, Mal Bean and I were the only two players that came up into the team, and this is even before the greats like Randall and Lorenzo and I had Frankie Brewster and like I said, center halves and midfield players, Jimmy Parsons. You can't move these bars. If they tell you give the ball, hey, give me the ball, man.
Yeah.
No. I'm done. Even Dale Ross, hey, no, mate. You can't win this game by yourself. That's the type of players that at the national level, which I look back and it's like, wow, it was a great experience. I look back at those days and say, I would had a great opportunity to play with some of Bermuda's finest players in our era. And so they were my coaches.
Ricky, what?
Sorry.
Yeah.
No, maybe Dennis, you can tell them about the Mexico game where we at BA we won 1-0, and then we went to a place. We went to a place called Toluca in Mexico, and
Yep.
they took us. It was what 18,000, 16,000 feet above sea level.
Couldn't breathe.
Of course, the changing rooms had oxygen tanks in it, and we got pumped 6-0.
6-0, yeah. That's a game I'll never forget. Like you said, we beat them here in the first leg 2-1. Clevie got the winner in the last couple of minutes, and couldn't believe it when we got to Mexico. Couldn't breathe. And remember, you Wade got substituted after 15 minutes from filming from his mouth, like because it was terrible. That was a bad experience there.
Oxygen tanks in the changing room.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. So Rick, what game was it that you decided, you know what? Okay, I need to retire from this level?
God. You're going to have to ask my mother about that one.
Does she want to tell you?
Yes, you'd have to ask Millie. She knows all the questions. She knows all the. I could not give you. You know what? I finished up. At North Village. Believe it or not, I had one season with North Village, and that would have been late. I may have been 44 years old.
Oh wow!
And that was late. So I can't remember one specific game that I would have said I'm giving up. But hotels, I think at that time filled it up, and I joined North Village for a year and ended up playing for North Village for a season, and then of course went into the commercial league. But I can't remember a specific game that I said this is it.
Next time I see Millie, I have to ask.
Yeah, she's got all the statistics and the dates. Please call and ask her.
I couldn't imagine.
What about you, Scotty? Was there a game where you said, you know what, the body can't take this anymore?
Well, Earl, I don't remember, but what I did, right, as you get older, I think Ricky's mentioned 40-something. Christ, man, I think I played past that. And the only way I can do that, I became a player coach.
Right.
So I first name of the team sheet is me. Yeah, and I went again. I played for. I was player coach for BAA. I went anyone that would take me, allow me to play. I'll run the training session. I'll run the team, but my name's going on the team sheet first. So, injuries basically. Heart. After a while, your body just can't deal with training 2-3 nights a week, and the younger players running past you and that sort of stuff, and you have to just sort of give up, realize you had a good innings, and I kind of went quietly out of the game. I don't remember any real specific game where I thought of throwing, pack it in, but I did try to stay in the game as long as I can, because I love playing. If I can do it, I'm sure between Dennis and Ricky and myself, we could turn back the clock, we would. I think the mind's with them, but The rest is not to be
Yeah,
followed.
enough of that.
Yeah. So yeah.
Dennis?
Okay, Scotty, you had a little stint playing professionally, and Ricky should have been professional at Hibernian, but the cool weather was too cool for him. Tell us what this experience was like, Scotty playing professionally, and then Ricky when you went to Hibernian for those trials, and they still talk to you right up to today.
Rick?
Yeah, I was, I had the opportunity, and I'm very thankful for Dennis McQuaid. As of course, you know, Dennis McQuaid played in Scotland.
Right.
I think he played for Partick Thistle, if my memory serves me right, Partick Thistle, and he had been playing with me for a year, and of course he um, called over to Scotland to Hibernian, and he asked me would I be interested in going over for any trials, and of course I said yes. 22 years old. I would love the opportunity, not knowing that it was the coolest it's ever been for a century. And I was very thankful. I'm very thankful for Dennis for that. But I got into Scotland. I'm sorry. The scouts came to Bermuda. Fella by the name of Pat Quinn and Bertie Hall. I can remember them arriving in Bermuda, and I was working at Colonial Insurance at the time, which is now CG. And I can remember had to leave the office and go to police club, dressed in my gear. It was all organized, and they brought down one or two guys with them, and all they were doing is crossing balls in, and I was just getting on the end of it. So I was getting on the end, finishing, and the next thing I know, I'm being invited back to Scotland, and I was on the flight the next night to Scotland. Of course, gave no notice to my family, my mom and my dad, and of course my family. Corey was very young at that time, and my sister. And of course, I can remember going to the airport, and my mom, my dad, and my sister, my brother was young, and off I went to Scotland. Arrived in Scotland, and it was absolutely freezing. It's impossible to play here. And at that time, Hibernian, which is called Easter Road
Yes.
In Edinburgh, and I don't know if you guys know Edinburgh. That's
Oh,
where
yeah, I
the
know
castle
very
is.
well.
And at that time, Hibernian was the only field that had the under heating system. And
Yeah.
of course, the system is a piping system that will thaw out the ice. And the pitches was always hard, but it would thaw out. And I can clearly remember how cold it was. And it's funny because when the game is finished, you're into the hot tub. And for me to get into the hot tub, it actually used to burn my skin because your ice, you
Yeah.
can think of ice burning into your skin. And I had to wait until, I had to thaw out before I get into the ice bath. And I can remember the guys laughing and teasing me about that. But I played a few games in Scotland. Played at Easter Road. Played a few games against Hearts, which is the rivalry team. Also played Queens Park, just outside of, well, next to Hampton Park. That's the national stadium against Queens Park. So I had some good memories, but hey, I just couldn't survive that. It was just too cold, and I just couldn't cope, quite honest. But it was a hell of an experience,
Yeah.
and it's just going back in time that yeah, can't describe it, but a good experience.
Scotty, what was your professional?
Well, Dennis, I kind of got into professional through playing college football, collegiate. I went to Cleveland State. I was there along like with James Painter at the time, PHC. And I did 4 years there. And, in collegiate football, soccer, the school I played was like playing Division I. They were like ranked fourth or fifth in the nation at the time. And I got all the McDonald's, All Star, you name it. They dressed it all up, and I got recruited. Believe it or not, went into my senior year, and name went out there. I was voted. I was highly rated, and the team I signed for was Cleveland Force, and believe it or not, was the same team that Clyde Bunny Bass played for. Right, during his on his journey. And my coach was a guy named Eddie McCready, who used to play for Chelsea back in the day, and I played in the indoor league, and Johnny Newsom played in it. Dale Rosser played in that league. This even before David Bascom and Johnny's son played in the league. So and they just signed on and I signed the papers, and I had a good season in it. It's indoors, but it's still professional. It was a good experience. I lived the dream. I wish I could have went further with it. I had tried. I had close like back to North American Soccer League at the time, the Tampa Bay Rowdies, and we were playing the Cosmos, or back in the old NSL. But it was all Beavers United States. But guess what? You get paid to play football. You'll take it.
Yes, indeed.
So, like I said, through college, just playing at collegiate and being exposed to that that system they had in place at the time.
Any final question, Dennis?
My I got two actually.
Yeah.
Both of you guys were extremely fit, man. And one of the things that I always tell my players right up to today is you have to do your extras. What did you guys do to be so fit in your playing days?
Rocky,
Yeah, I think, with the structure that hotels had, it was training 3 nights a week. And we had to be training on time, and we had to complete the session. And we had physical Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Alan was a great believer of fitness, and any of the other coaches, Randy Benjamin, who was the other guy, Derek, Pat Queen. Had a
the
few coaches
goalkeeper
there.
coach. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
can't
right.
remember
The
his name.
goalkeeper.
Yeah,
Graham Williams.
but
Graham Williams.
yeah, Grant Williams. But we were extremely fit. I can give you an example. We trained on holidays. I can remember going to a funeral once, and it was a family member that had passed, and there was a wake, and I wasn't allowed to attend that wake. I had to go to training, and so
Wow.
this is how strict we were, and
Wow.
training was of great importance, and fitness. We did a lot of work. We did a lot of sprints, what you call the burpees. We done a
Shuttle.
lot of the shuttles.
Yeah.
I remember when we trained at BAA, we used to leave BAA and run to Lincoln Hill, off Lincoln Hill and North Shore, back up Barkley Hill and back to BA Field. And you had to do that within 10 minutes. So you was always at 3/4 pace.
Wow.
And fitness was of great importance. And extras. I mean, you really had no time for extras, but that's because you were always training so hard through the week and playing on Sunday. So you were looking for the opportunity of getting a bit of a break. But the emphasis would have been a lot on running and upper body strength and push-ups and sit-ups and burpees. And Dennis, you would know this, and then Derek, you would know this with the shuttles, but
Yeah.
and 3/4 laps around the field. So, as I said, training was the fitness side of it would have been of great importance.
What Scotty, what was your fitness regime like?
Well, it was. I learned over the years, like Adam, like Rick has just mentioned about us doing the shuttle work, and once you recovery time, Dennis, whereas you go do your sprints, good on, back and forth, and then you got so many seconds to recover from. All right, and the Allen had great. He had a great, I guess, strategy. Is that you as a forward, you can do all the run up and down the field and this, but it's when you get an 18-yard box, so you're still strong enough to stay on your feet. It's and recovery. So
That's a good point. Yeah.
yeah, and that was actually, I did that at college because we only had like when I went to college, you only had like 2 weeks to get fit, 2 weeks, because that's the standard they put for all the schools coming in, so no one had an edge on the other team, and you learn to do sprints, bench sprints, and of course, I mean, I think I was halfway decent in terms of speed back in the day, but it was recovery runs. You make a run from the halfway line down to the 18-yard box. You don't walk back, you run back, and then you recover. So then you condition your body to sort of play the game at that higher level. So I think a lot had to do with training in terms of bench sprints for me. If I had to, it was burpees and bench sprints. And I was never one to run, go run on a mile, 2 miles, long distance. I hated running. But I'll do sprints all day, from box to box and do what we call ladder work, where you get your lungs prepared to work harder, or ease your lungs up, get down the 18-yard box and be able to finish the shut off, Dennis. Turn you, Dennis Brown, inside and out, and
man on the ball, man.
Huh?
Man on the ball. One eye is not getting close.
Yeah, man on the ball. But for me, it was sprints. A lot of sprints. I did that ladder work. That was my sort of fitness regime.
And that final one, Dennis?
Yeah, my last question to you guys. I don't know if you get to watch any local football nowadays. So advice, and I ask questions to everybody who comes on. What advice would you give to any aspiring football player to go to the next level? They're at this level now. What advice would you give them to go to a higher level?
Rick?
Yeah. First of all, I think I don't follow too much of the domestic league. I may see it, but I don't go out. Unfortunately, I just don't go out and watch it.
Mm-hmm.
But I may see a couple of clips and stuff in the paper. But my advice to the younger players that's coming through is simply hard work. I mean, only hard work pays off to anyone that wants to be a footballer. Unfortunately, with the Bermuda team that just were eliminated from our last competition, we had a bit of an issue with the pandemic, and I think most people would agree that it was very difficult for the team to prepare for the upcoming tournaments that they just recently had because of the pandemic. And of course, you didn't have a lot of your players. But more importantly, when it comes to players preparing and achieving the highest goal is simply hard work and training, having good skill and good work ethic. Good work ethic is most important. I think we've got a few younger players that's overseas now. I think, and I'm hoping that we can actually get the best and hoping for the right infrastructure that when these young players come back, we've got kids that are right now that are at semi-pro, some in college, and they're getting these opportunities. So I think when they come back, they deserve opportunity and they shouldn't be denied of being the best possible player that they can be. And by doing that, I think government will need to put a proper infrastructure in place so that these players can achieve the best that they can possibly be.
Mm-hmm.
So it's more work ethic and training hard.
Thanks. Scotty, any advice for these guys?
Well,
today?
yeah, Dennis. Well, I've got like Rick, we got family. I have a grandson that's playing for PHC. I try to pass on the knowledge to him without trying to, say this what Papa did back in the day. It's the new generation or young generation have a lot of distractions out there right now. They're watching probably too much TV, where they see, Cristiano Ronaldo scoring free kicks and blah blah blah. We grew up in a different era where we tried things on the field. Like, we lived them. We had a good structure back then. I just said, look, discipline. If you really want it bad enough, right, put down the Xbox. You really want it bad enough, forget your little girlfriend. All these distractions. And I'm speaking as a player, a parent, and a grandparent. You got to first believe that that's what you want to do and make the sacrifices. A lot. I think it's too easy nowadays for a lot of young players, because that's the way. Like myself and Ricky and you, even Dennis, paid the way for them to be out there for these trials and before these clubs. And we, I never had to. We never had to. Well, we had opportunities, but only if you showed some ability. But we put a lot of hard work in there. And I try to instill it on to the young players. And I coach at the youth level, I coach PHC, I coach at Boulevard, and I coach, just say, hey, guys, come in and do seconds. Come in and do this here, After training, it's okay. Try things. But anyway, it's difficult now. I think for young players now, just too much happening right now in the world, which is, it's a crazy times with the pandemic and everything else. But go out and pick up a ball, go in the corner. And this is what players back in there, the Andrew Bassons and I can start name. These guys put the time in, showed a bit of discipline. So that would be my sort of advice. Is football, if you want to go further, you gotta have some discipline to hope you reap the rewards. Yeah, that's me.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right.
Definitely. Well, gentlemen, I want to thank you very, very much for this walk down memory lane. We thoroughly enjoyed this one as well. And then hopefully there will be another time we can invite you back to have even another chat talking about your time playing football back in the day. Because I know there's many more conversations that could possibly be had. So again, thank you very much. Thank you very much. And Dennis,
Yes.
enjoy your night, brother.
Yes, you too, bro.
Getting close
Thanks
to the
for having
time
me,
where
Earl.
you what's that?
Thanks for having me.
Oh, no problem at all. Getting close to the time where you and Ricky need a
We
washcloth.
put on our red and blue. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, you guys get your washcloth. Don't worry.
Definitely.
Don't worry about
Watch go.
it. Yeah.
All right.
Have a good night, gentlemen.
All right, Bryce.
All right. Thank you
All
very much, Brandon.